Today, Rinpoche explained how the excellent life that we have and all of the resources that we have to be utilized for the practice of Dharma so that our life doesn't become like a banana tree that is only lost after its one fruit. We want to be like a mango tree that continuously produces fruits until our liberation. And we can do so with this basis if we use it for Dharma practice. Oh, I gotta put That's good. The Khensur the microphone zugu. That's good. Khensur tanda zugu. The ngachu nga go. Say the dun. I'm going that. Okay, sumba sum, rasum. Okay. As much as we can turn that down. Okay. Less so.
Shiru no Janchu Sambi Loja can go then do the RS. Don't chambers. That Raju Meje Pajin to the J. That Janju Meje do you oblige? Doaje then do this. Doaje there. Then Doaje to Ross in the Jemba J. Heba Ma Chin Heba. Don't show but 20 Bajet the Marba. Doaje then do this. Doa Janju Meje Doaje and Shiru non do res. Shiru non do the Jimba do on Halas. Doaje non Tom Jimba non do res. Do Hala. Chin Heba and Heba Mawat. Heba Mawane, Shiru le Tande, Dujalan Domba Inshins. Shiru Tande Don't shable then Heba Mago Jirwa. What the neighbor there is that. Don't shable Dambi don't there. And Jean Kuba in Las Shindul Dujagenda Shindul Gobala Gobala Sagres. Dujagenda Shindul Gobala, Susu Shindu Yanachikurus. Don't Tumba. Dujagenda Shindul Gobanajin, Susu Shindu Yanachikurus. Don't tumba the rangi chan, Dujatan Drawa, Druba Yimbishero. So, what about Jujana?
That's so. Okay, so if everybody wants to turn in the English Lamrim Chenmo to page 103, the Tibetan we're on page 357. And it says how to train after taking the vows. So there are 3 categories. So we're in number 3. Of the categories. So there are going to be categories within category number 3. So there are 3 categories in number 3. First, what the precepts are based upon. Second, how all the precepts are included in the 6 perfections. And third, the process of learning the perfections. So the first category, what the precepts are based upon. Rinpoche just basically read and gave very little commentary on the words, and I'll add it in where applicable. There are limitless clear categorizations, but if you arrange the bodhisattva precepts by type, you can include them all within the 6 perfections. The 6 perfections are thus the great condensation of all the key points of the bodhisattva path. So there are many different ways to categorize the bodhisattva path. You can have many different divisions and ways of explaining it. But if we look at all of them and compare it to the 6 perfections, we find that the explanation of the 6 perfections is not only all-inclusive and contains all of the key points, but it's the most it's easy to work with, if you will, or the easiest to work with. So it says the 6 perfections are thus the great condensation of all of the key points of the bodhisattva path. So all of the key points it's important. So does not leave out any. So all of them are subsumed under this heading. And it says the 4 ways to gather disciples. So this is an example, for instance, of something. So it says now that these 4 Rinpoche explained, they're in the Tibetan text. They're not in the Tibetan text, but whoever translated it just added in the parentheses, and Rinpoche just added that as well. So I'm just letting everyone know that what's in the parentheses here is not in the Tibetan, and then Rinpoche's commentary is what's in the parentheses. So Rinpoche listed what the 4 ways to gather disciples are. So generosity is first, pleasant speech second, working at the aims third, and consistency of behavior is fourth. It says are included. The 4 ways to gather disciples are also included within the 6 perfections as follows. So here's going to be an example of something which they will show how, Lama Tsongkhapa will show how these 4 ways to gather disciples are under the umbrella, that's a good way to say it, of the 6 perfections. It says generosity is included as obvious. So the first of the 6 perfections is generosity. First of the ways of gathering disciples is generosity. So Lama Tsongkhapa says it's obvious, it's the same thing. So not the same, it's the same word, so it's obvious that it connects. So as a translator's note, I didn't mean to say it's the same thing, because it's not necessarily. Pleasant speech. Pleasant speech is giving instructions to disciples, taking the 6 perfections as the point of departure. So speaking pleasantly to students about the 6 perfections. Working at aims is establishing others in the aims of these instructions. So establishing others in the aims of the 6 perfections, or the aspirations that the 6 perfections have to those perfections. They aspire to those perfections. Working at it, aims, so we just went over that. And consistency of behavior is practicing just as the disciple does. So if you are going to give advice and teach these perfections to a student and say, take on these behaviors and discard those behaviors, then you also have to be following those practices. So of the 6 perfections. So it's saying practicing the 6 perfections as you are instructing your disciple to do so. Disa.
Oji shindu no da shang ju sembi laba zun du ji do de je de ya zu ni da laba song la so be jiang shang zhen ji lang ta ji du me jiang ne zu ni na le shang ju sembi la ga du res so na zu da shi zu so na zu da shi zu ni na le ane shang ju sembi laba ga du res 다 소나 소스나 샤주 생라 소바 텔레 소나 소스레스 돈이도 비셔라 와도 이시 소스 왜로다 돈이 소나 쪽에 라제들 저거 가르면 그래서나 소나 쪽에 소소고든 조용하레스 소나 쪽 최소 조건이 나네 소소고 라제 조제데 소나 조인스 샤주 생다니 제발서 소라 되네 상지 쪽도 농고도 조용 버다 조고든 조용 와레스 근데 이시 돌아 되네 and
Chuku.
Chuku to one you could draw him. Swajic to you would then not change draw him, but what the Tuni knowledge shall choose a Labak can do or is
The Ngoni Goden. Ngoni Chuko Goden.
That Tuni Sonang to the Shituni J. Sonang to the Jabakarim was in the logo to Chogo the Imbre.
Lesser.
Zoku to do what is. Is it Sujin Jabadilla Chogo?
Lesser.
One you go down. Is it Chogo?
Lesser.
Not change the Najan didn't go then you do him.
The Goden Ngoni Chuko.
Okay,
Tuchena. Goden, the Ngoni Chuko show. Goden Tuchen. Okay, Tuchen. Okay. Ngoni
go.
Natural. Okay. So we'll read on. So it says, although it is true that the entire Bodhisattva path is also subsumed under other condensations, such as the 2 collections, the 3 trainings, and so forth, these are not able to produce the understanding that the 6 perfections do. So the 6 perfections are the best inclusive set. So the 2 collections. So the 2 collections are referring to the collection of merit and the collection of exalted wisdom. So the 3 trainings are referring to the higher training in ethical discipline, meditative concentration, and wisdom. So the 2 collections are referring to these 2 things that are necessary to have in order to become a Buddha. So the collection of merit and the collection of exalted wisdom. The collection of merit is referring to the practices such as bodhicitta. The collection of exalted wisdom is referring to the practices of wisdom. These collections produce certain bodies of the Buddha. So the collection of merit is responsible for the formation of the form body of the Buddha, which, if we categorize it, is the enjoyment body, the Sambhogakaya, and the emanation body, the Nirmanakaya. So the Robokaya is the form body, that's the main heading, and Sambhogakaya and Nirmanakaya are the 2 categories, enjoyment body and emanation body. So these are created by the collection of merit, which is the practice of bodhicitta. The next, the collection of exalted wisdom, is responsible for the creation of the Dharma body. The Dharma body refers to, or it's also called the truth body in English. The truth body is divided into 2 categories. The wisdom truth body and the nature body, or the wisdom body and the nature body. So these are the 2 categories under the truth body. And the truth body is created by the collection of wisdom. So the collection of merit creates the form body, the collection of wisdom creates the truth body. And so these are formed in dependence upon the various practices that are subsumed underneath it. So the collection of merit practices create the collection of merit. The collection of wisdom practices create the collection of wisdom, which then the merit create form body, the wisdom creates the truth body. So this is how we would categorize the bodies of the Buddha according to form body, which are enjoyment and emanation, according to truth body, which are nature body and wisdom body. Now, the wisdom body is referring to the omniscience. The nature body is referring to cessation of the Buddha. So these are what all of the bodies of the Buddha are, how they're created, and what they do. So they're the emanation body, enjoyment body, the nature body, and the wisdom body. So wisdom body being omniscience, nature body being cessation, and then the 2 forms, enjoyment body and emanation. Disung, Kangalasung.
다 산지 최도 수지 쇼나로 샤주버 다는 저수지 다가 신수지 초나지 롤라벤 소리도 어디서 그한테서 되도 노다
So
다가 신수지 초나 소송도 쇼나지 수다 시수니 레드마르바
less so. So when we look at the text, our book, when we have the refuge prayer, I take refuge until I'm enlightened. In the Jantro, Gar Sumpre, Rinpoche. The Kandungare, the Yenla. Let me need you. Ale. Okay. So we find in our prayer book and at the beginning of the I'm just trying to find it at the beginning of the Guru Yoga text, we find this. There it is. By the power of the truth of the three jewels, the power of the inspiration of all of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, the power of the great might of the completed two collections, and the power of the intrinsically pure and inconceivable sphere of reality, may these offerings become suchness. So in this we find the power of the great might. I'm just making sure it's Sanjay Chanju. Yep, that's it. Might of the completed two collections. So the power of the great might of the completed two collections. So we find in our prayer book those two collections being referenced, and those two collections are what we're talking about here in this context. So Rinpoche was just showing another place where the two collections are referenced, and now we know what those two collections are. Okay.
Sunyi dans, dal haba sonsor, dal haba son, churinji laba, tengenzenji laba, shiraji laba sonsor marbe. Churinji laba, tengenzenji laba, shiraji laba zina, ne shiriba namba tumo res. Shiriba la yuwa, namba la yuwa res. Labi laba sonsona, namba tumo imba chamungo res. Labi churinji laba. Labi churinji laba zina, nganjung sambi sembi churin. Wate shiriba me imba da. Cerebral habit is habit lava, habit things lava, and then I do some busy things lava that's in row. The net don't need to be shut. What does on the habit lava sons? Lava son la sopijan, lava son dans l'oule, chantu sembelang du duares. Lava son la sopijan, chansenji, ne l'entanje du mejans. 사바송을 소바 수단 다 사주 샤주세베 랑알아 소바 어떻게 된 파신 쥐던 것도 되지 더 나루래야 샤주세베 하박 뒤디오레스 소비장 샤센지 라지네 타지 샤센 랑타지 뒤메장스 뒤레스 신루기 고아찌바 따르 네 뒤지 젠지 Teta menube shinru la du jesheba chu yenos. Oda shinru de la chanju sembe laba ka shinru no du jesheba yina wade yashu de se chu de sonde sare. Chu yenos.
Now we're looking at the three trainings. So again, the Tibetan text doesn't have what's in the parentheses. So Rinpoche explains that. We know it because it's written in the parentheses, but it would require a Tibetan having a teacher explaining what these trainings are referring to. The three trainings, ethical discipline, meditative concentration, and wisdom. So we call them the three higher trainings. Now, this is something that we can say is in common, or we have in common with other Buddhist traditions. So other Buddhist traditions have the training in ethical discipline, the training in meditative concentration, and the training in wisdom. But the way that we differentiate the trainings that we're speaking about and these trainings is by calling them the highest higher trainings. So I'm trying to quickly find exactly where the word is to see if it says three higher trainings. It probably does in the Tibetan. Here it just says three trainings. It probably says three higher trainings. I don't want to say that for sure because I got to find it really quickly, and I don't think I have time. But the Tibetan Buddhists add another higher to make it highest higher training. Now, what's the reason for this highest higher training? What differentiates these trainings from non-Buddhist trainings? So the training in ethical discipline is training in ethical discipline, but it is coupled with renunciation, the desire to definitely emerge from cyclic existence. So these ethics are saturated with this renunciation. So sometimes they're referred to the ethics of renunciation, or renunciation ethics, meaning that the ethical behavior is done with the basis of this desire to emerge. So these ethics are renounced ethics. So you can translate it a lot of different ways, but are renounced ethics that have renounced, someone who has renounced. So as a translator's note, if you look at the individual liberation vow, if you look at the Sanskrit, that means that basically one has a desire to emerge. You have renunciation, so you're taking this vow. You've decided to emerge, to become liberated, so you're taking this vow. So anyway, just as a translator's note. But the Rinpoche explained about the renunciation being saturated in the ethics. So meditative concentration. Rinpoche, chu tingenzi the nejong diksun. The chiran the tingenzi nejong. Okay, so and then the concentration. If we're looking at highest higher training, we can say in this case the desire to definitely emerge. So we could say renunciation. So the object of observation is a single-pointed desire to emerge. So that is an example of a highest higher training that is different in the case of the Buddhist than non-Buddhist. And not for who's better, just as a translator's note, it's not a what's better, it's why the wording is such, why the words are used highest higher. And then because there's an addition to each of these. It's in addition to. There's something with the wisdom, there's something with the concentration, there's something with the ethics. And then last is wisdom, and that's the wisdom realizing emptiness. And the wisdom realizing emptiness is something that we find is separate, is something different than the non-Buddhist tradition. So when we say higher trainings, we can say that non-Buddhists have higher trainings, but highest higher trainings have these further qualifications that we don't find in non-Buddhist tradition. Sobolasam Rinpoche.
다 러버송스나 아니 추진지 뢰된바 띵엔지 bomba된바 아니 싫어 라동으로 대시 천자된바스 네 뢰대 야부지 bom바데 담보여나 한 천자 아부여바이나 신의 죄도로다 신의 죄도로 더나지 추진지 라비 뢰된바 띵엔지 bom바된바 돈이도 싫어 라동도 여바이나 되는 그 자와 denze maribata nyomola sukunga mebazu tugres what the son is.
So when we look at the highest higher trainings, we compare them to if we use them in terms of wishing to accomplish liberation or Buddhahood. So utilizing these higher trainings to accomplish Buddhahood. How does this work? They all depend on each other, and Buddhahood depends on them all. Just so the comparison is made to cutting down a tree. So if one wishes to accomplish the task of cutting down a tree, you need various things in order to make that happen. So first off, in order to cut down a tree, you need a stable body. You need a body that's stable as a person that serve as a basis for cutting down a tree. So this is compared to the highest higher training in ethical discipline. Ethical discipline being this basis that's needed in order to attain Buddhahood. The next is the highest higher training in meditative concentration. If you wish to cut down a tree, you not only need the stable basis, but you need a good arm, good strong arm. that can do this cutting. So this is compared, the strong arm that's required to cut down a tree is compared to the highest higher training and concentration that is required in order to become a Buddha. And then lastly, with just a basis and an arm, you can't chop down a tree. It's necessary to have some kind of a saw or some kind of a blade. And then if this is compared to the highest higher training and wisdom. So if you have a stable body basis and a good arm and a good saw, you can cut down a tree. If you have a stable ethics, concentration, and wisdom, you can become a Buddha. So this example is made to clarify and make you understand how these depend upon each other and are necessary to all be there in order to create the goal of Buddhahood. Geshe Rinpoche.
O da nipa lenu to da nipa tenba labi jitan ter laban du su ter laban du su jiba nipa ter laban du su derwata nipa ter laban du su ne nipa la ni ngwe de zhang ba dambo je shala kuring ba nipa sa je ni de do sa je ni ngwe de zhang ba Shidu da chang'e pa su ngoto la tu chang'e pa, tuanyi dhruva la tu chang'e pa su chang'e kashi yungu duwa. Ngoto la tu te, ane shidu chang'e kare shidu. Tene tuanyi dhruva la tu chang'e kare su wote chang'e tu le ting sa re. Ngoji tun chang'e pa tang su tangpo chi, shala kuring'e pa. Shenpa tsujun soba tsundru wote kuring, tene shi kwa ju sende kare res.
Leso.
Kuringa ba temba os. Ta tombo ngoji tuanji changa ba terwa. Chonden de shinru ge dongzang ze balas. Shajaman Buddha ge ne jimba tsujin soba tsundru santen sate ge wote dongzang ze bala. Ne jawa shaman gombe wote jeshi jeba song yoares. Jeso tambe tatan zebe Jusen jine na shinru dongzang zebi jusen jine na sanji gomba yin zhe ne ngan shi jeba ne zhang ngan su dena yinbe es shinru zhang ngan se to wadu suri es ta deda la yi chubi ngan ba nye na se da suri yi chubi sen le gabu ya ngan shi jeba ina ne shinru ki nyalen la dambi chudo jeba nyongyu neba nyeba shao so watu re.
Okay. So now, and I did look up, the word that we normally have for higher training is there. So you could translate it as 3 trainings, but the word that we always say higher training is the word that's in the Tibetan. And when you hear the highest higher, it's 2 words put together that are the same. So I think it's important just to make it clear when we're translating. So I went back and I found it. So now we get into category number 2, how all precepts are included within the 6 perfections. So it says this has 2 different parts. Let me just make sure. Did I finish reading this and so forth? Let me just read this last paragraph and make sure if I did, I did. Rinpoche read it a couple times. Although it is true that the entire Bodhisattva path is also subsumed under other condensations, such as the 2 collections, the 3 trainings, and so forth, these are not able to produce the understanding that the 6 perfections do, so the 6 perfections are the best inclusive set. Although other places have all of this information, the 6 perfections are the easiest to work with, so we can say that that's the best all-inclusive set if we're looking for the easiest summary to work with in practice. Number 2, all precepts are included in the 6 perfections. So this has 2 parts: a discussion of the main topic, the fixed number of perfections, and an ancillary discussion of the fixed order of the perfections. The first category, a discussion of the main topic, a fixed number of perfections, means that there's a specific number of perfections. There's not more or less. So here is the establishment of this. So it says the Bhagavan, so this is the Buddha, formulated a bare outline of the 6 perfections, and the holy regent Maitreya produced certain knowledge of these by explicating in order, in accord with the Buddha's intended meaning, the key points of rationale for formulating the perfections in that fashion. These explanations show that there is a fixed number of perfections. When you are convinced of this and astonished by it, you will understand the practice of the 6 perfections as a supreme instruction. So obtain such conviction. Geshe Rinpoche.
Oje tatene hote change basa tatene marbe lu sharon shejag tsini shejala ina tamda ni su change gres shejala ina tabada mutaba ni su change gres shejala ina kudu deba deba ni su change gres wotene mo so change basa to te rab marbe.
So when we say drang ngepa, it's referring to there are fixed divisions. There's a fixed order. So when we look at other topics, for instance, any topic that we have various definitions, and that's a definiendum of the definition. Sorry. And then there are various divisions and so forth of that. So for instance, the subject, object of comprehension or object of knowledge, I think is actually object of knowledge. So that subject, object of knowledge has 2 categories, permanent and impermanent phenomena. So there aren't more or less. There's impermanent and permanent phenomena that categorically fall under object of knowledge. So it's similar here when we say that there are 6 perfections. When we say, what is the definition of perfection, we would give a definition, and then we would say how many divisions of it. We would say there are 6. So just like there would be a definition, I think it's that observed by valid cognition, I believe is the definition of object of knowledge. It's something along those lines. I have it here, but I think the page fell out, unfortunately. So object of knowledge is something that is an object of awareness, suitable to be an object of awareness. That which is an object of awareness, I think is actually, it's either that which is an object of an awareness or that which is established by valid cognition. Both those things I just said are synonymous anyway, because they fall within all these different categories of definitions that are synonymous. I'm just not remembering which links with which. So I apologize. But so it's similar to that. In different presentations, you have a definition of something, and then you have how many divisions of it are there. And then it's established that there are this many divisions, and this is the definition. The same point here. We're explaining what perfection means, and we're saying there are 6 divisions of it. There aren't 7. There aren't 5. So that's the meaning of that. Geshe Rinpoche. Where's my page? So when we look at consciousness, for instance, we can say that there is physical consciousness and mental consciousness, and there are 2 categories. So here's my pages. So it's similar to that. Suitable to be taken as an object of awareness. So yeah, we had it before. So that's the definition of object of knowledge. So when very similar to consciousness, having physical consciousness and mental consciousness, or sense consciousness and mental consciousness. There's divisions of those as well. There aren't more, there aren't less. There's mental and there's sense. Dison. Less so. Less so. Less so. So when we look at the various categories that we just mentioned, for instance, we look at the categories of physical consciousness or sense consciousness. It's eye consciousness, ear consciousness, nose consciousness, tongue consciousness, and tactile consciousness. All of these would fall under sense consciousness or physical consciousness. And then the sixth, which is mental consciousness, would be the one that would be mental. So we have sense and mental. The sixth consciousness being mental consciousness would be the mental category. The other five would be the sense consciousness. Digsung Rinpoche.
Oje tang paru de shimba trude shindu de changye gres shindu la tu de changye ba shindu de changye bi su de la ngoto la tu de changye bi su dan teni duba la tu de changye bi su ni yong do wa ta dom ngoto la du be shindu de changye ba do teres de la tu le ngoto la tu de changye nes ngoto la tu de ngotul hada me itendel ngoba thwa lagruda ngotul hada me itendel ngoba thwa res karares na nazu giten tude thwa yin ta ngotu itens what is it marba hada me itendel nazu giten thwa ro thwa yin ta ngotu itens ngotul tude ne shindu chang ne gres ngotul tude what jimba gugre chujin gugre sone go shiro gugres ngoti le to tobala chujin gugres ngoti jun chujin lejemes chujin mena ngoti ten hada me ten tutu mares ngoti ten chujin debres on chujin debeje tene ngotul ten longsho gugres longsho sa ton ala soba longsho de mena an ngotu de tu mares longsho ge ne jute jimbares jimbe longsho tinji de dendro juro zobe naden zu zeba de zobe jebres zobe naden zobe je zeji chwa de dendro jebres santen che she sanju she de de santen jebres luizu nyomo ba she jebal jwa de shero jebres what the ngomulu so what to say imbareta ngotola tu de janga ba nes ngotola tu de shinru janga gres ngotola tu chujin gode ngotu lu den tu wala chujin mena ngotu lu den tu maro ngotola tu de chujin gugundwa ten longje mena hada mena tu maro jimi longje change de zebe na de den hada mena yedongwa de zebe jebres zebe na de zebe jis zebe jebe na what the zebe jebe zeji jebe zizi chwa de jebe bare zebe na zebe je santen jishe seju shishi tuwa de santen gombin jebres luju ne shiro gombin jebe de nyomo ba shishi jebal tuwa de yongres
Okay, tuche. The tambo, kanga tambo.
Jimbe longje tije de zebe na de zebe jizo de. Ngotula de
tuche. Okay. So again, looking at this section, number 2, all precepts are included within the 6 perfections. There are 2 categories. A discussion of the main topic. So there's the main topic and then there's an ancillary topic. So the main topic is the fixed number of perfections. The ancillary topic, or the secondary topic, is the fixed order of the perfections, that they're in a specific order for a reason. So we've gone through some of the first point, the discussion of the fixed number. And then it says the discussion of the main topic, the fixed number of perfections, has 6 parts. So we're going to go through each of the parts one by one. I don't believe Rinpoche read all 6. So it says the fixed number of perfections based on high status. So what is high status referring to? Why do we say high? So high status is referring to rebirth into the higher realms of the gods and humans and so forth. So why do we call that high status? We call that high status because it's above the lower realms. So it's higher, above or higher than those realms that are low. So high status, meaning rebirth into the gods and humans realms, requires various practices in order to make that happen. So just having the rebirth itself without any of the factors within the rebirth isn't enough. We find in Nagarjuna's Precious Garland where it speaks of the cause and effect relationship between these various actions, and how through various actions we create the various results within the higher realms of cyclic existence. I wonder why I put that there. That's the beginning. For instance, in the doesn't really matter. I have it. So in the Precious Garland, it says from generosity comes the enjoyments. From ethics comes happiness. From patience, beauty. From effort, charisma or presence. And from concentration, peace of mind, and through wisdom one will be free. So here, if one is born in the higher realms of cyclic existence as a human or God, first of all, one gets that through ethics. So ethical behavior. So in Nagarjuna's quote where it says, through generosity comes the enjoyments, through ethics, happiness. Happiness here is referring to higher realms, liberation, etc. So the higher realms of cyclic existence depend upon as their main basis ethical discipline. They depend on other things, but the main basis, according to Nagarjuna's quote, is ethical discipline. But when you are in the realm, you want to have various things. You want to have the enjoyments and wonderful drink and wonderful food and so forth. And that is created by previous generosity, according to Nagarjuna. When you're in that higher realm, if you wish to have beauty and have others look upon you with respect because of that, then this is from a previous practice of patience. And then the next, if within that higher realm, it's necessary to have kind of a presence, a charisma about you, that a presence when you walk into a room. That's how it's been explained. The word has been explained, like a presence when you walk into a room that clearly somebody of importance has arrived. That kind of presence is what this word in Tibetan that we use charisma for is referring to. This presence. And that comes from effort. And concentration creates this peace of mind. And then it says that wisdom creates this freedom or an ability to be free. And that's because through wisdom, one is able to get rid of the afflictive obstructions and the obstructions to omniscience. So that is how one would become free. One would become free through, freedom comes from getting rid of what keeps you not free. So what keeps us from being free, what keeps us not free, literally not free, is the afflictive obstructions and the obstructions to omniscience. And wisdom gets rid of those. This is how the six perfections create various qualities, not only create the basis of the higher realms, but create the qualities within it up to the most excellent level. Okay, Rinpoche, Sampa. Kanga Lasang
먼저 하다 məs나 뭔가서 통고요로 뭔가서 면 통고로 사유의 말이지
Leso.
제베이나 는 사유도 매 근데 제소나 제가 주시고도다 네 내중 사배한도다 내중 사배한도 내중 그 잡아대 그 지시고 말에 잡아 그 르들 내중 사대 페네 되네 노데 무정아요로
Leso.
잡아대 마시아 무송아요로
Leso.
호텔 내중 사유비다 호텔 말베
So when we speak of the higher realms, is this real or not? So we can see humans, for sure. When we look around, we see humans, so we can establish with our eyes that there is a higher realm, or that there is this realm of humans. And then, are there gods or not? This is where we have doubts that occur, because how do we know if we can't see them that they exist? And one sign or something that occurs that we can look to understand that the possibility exists is the Nejong oracle, where we don't actually see the God in his full splendor or her full splendor, but the deity enters a human who then speaks as the God. So this is the Nejong oracle. This is the oracle, as a translator's note, of the Dalai Lama. The same oracle that, the same God. I'm not sure if I don't think it's the same person, but the same God system that wrote the map for the Dalai Lama to get out of Tibet. So there is some history and significance there, proof of some knowledge. So just as a note, it's not just what they see, it's the information they receive has quality information that's different than they had before. So just as a note, it's not just this blind faith because somebody acts strange all of a sudden. They get information that seems to be accurate that the monk didn't previously know. So just as a note, so here's a sign perhaps that it's true, because we do see the ritual and the takeover of the Nejong God in the oracle. Okay, Dixon. So if you think about this, then perhaps this helps you gain faith and towards the fact that yes, there are these beings, there are gods. So Rinpoche is saying it's a tool. Dixon.
가서 리치도 죽간을 되는 쇼르스나 아니 부산을 짐빌데 버렸어도 왔다
레서
든로데 추팅이 버렸어 와도 그걸로 아니 부산도 송고요다 다이 첸리바스 지나 갈라 그랬다 어떻게 도봐도 왔어.
So we have to wonder what makes someone wealthy. Why is someone wealthy and others not? So according to Buddhism, we say that wealth, or the enjoyments we translate it as, or wealth, riches, it's translated all those ways, are created by generosity. Previous generosity is what creates it. And then when we say what creates this human basis, the fact that we're a human and not an animal, we would say it's from ethics. This is what we would say as Buddhists, but what would a scientist say? It'd be interesting to ask a scientist, why are some people rich? Why are people instead of something else? This would be interesting discussion to have with the scientific community. Khensur Rinpoche.
What does Jimilon should change it? The Zobinanda Zombie Sunday Louis, what the trouble there, and then Nabajina. 나마가 최대로 숨어도 keleng 말아서 뭐죠? 종세고주 신도고주 숨 kelengです.
Leso.
what 숨어주 말은 거 숨어숨 통투고 말아서. 종세고주 많이 돼 땅안다라 된 루투고 말아서. 종세고주 레모도와 다 가르서나 신도고주. 네. 이치지 땅안다라 산지게 롱라트네 이치네 시고야데 레디오아르스 신도고주 레디오아르스
And this is difficult to gain faith in. When we look at the various categories of phenomena, we can divide everything into three. We say there's manifest phenomena, there's hidden phenomena, and then there's extremely hidden phenomena, or very hidden phenomena. So why doesn't the fact that there is this higher realm fall into the category of manifest phenomena? It's because we can't just comprehend it through valid cognition. We don't see it with our eyes. We can't just through direct valid cognition apprehend it. Why isn't it hidden phenomena? Hidden phenomena is phenomena that we can establish through relying on a correct sign. So we can use various signs, put them together, and then establish a truth. So we can't do that with this other realm. So what do we rely upon? We have to rely upon inference through faith, or inference, I think they say through the renown, but I think it's really just inference through faith, or inference through belief. And you would say that you are basing the belief on the fact that Buddha Shakyamuni asserted that there was such a place. Now, this isn't blindly. This is based on establishing hidden phenomena with correct signs and saying that if all of this other is correct, then that you can establish that this should be true. It's a kind of faith that only arises through ripping apart everything else that can be established as correct, with correct signs and reasoning, not necessarily by seeing it, by using signs and reasoning and logic, and saying that all of that other stuff pans out, so this should too. So that's what inference through belief refers to. I added a few things in just to explain inference through belief, but Rinpoche explained most of that. So how do we arrive at this inference through belief? Aryadeva's 400 verses gives us a way to do that. It says, whoever doubts what the Buddha said about that which is hidden, we would say extremely hidden, in the case the way we're translating, very hidden, should rely on emptiness and gain conviction in him alone. So what this refers to is that the statement in the Sutra of the Heart of Transcendent Knowledge that says, seeing the five skandhas to be empty of nature. So the Buddha establishes that all of the aggregates are empty. So that you come to understand through using signs and reasoning and logic. It's not something manifest you just quick understand by seeing it. You know, everyone knows what I mean. You understand. You don't just understand by seeing it like you would a color until you have understood it, and then later you can actually apprehend it. But initially, no. So initially you use signs and reasoning to understand what emptiness says. So once you establish that the Buddha is correct in this way that reality operates, this very subtle thing that can be proven through logic, that the Buddha is correct about this, then you gain this conviction in Buddha because of the logic that you've proven to the use of logic, you've proven these other things to yourself. So this conviction isn't based on blind faith. This conviction is based on everything else that's been proven correct. And you say, that must be true as well, because he alone is taught this, he alone is taught that, or she, depending on if it's Tara or some of the other female deities, tantras. She alone or he alone has taught this. So when we find that, we say that the Buddha's teaching, so any of those deities are giving the Buddha's teaching. If it's the Buddha's teaching, it's the Buddha's teaching. We say we can rely on what is said because all of this other information pans out. Digsung Rinpoche. So whenever I'm quoting these without the text, I'm just making the best I can with it. But in the Pramanavartika Karika, the Dharmakirti's commentary on the Compendium of Valid Cognition, commentary on Dignaga's text, we find a quote that says, you solely expressed the Four Noble Truths where others were unable to do so, or where others did not elucidate that. No one else has elucidated this. You alone expressed the Four Noble Truths. No one else has elucidated these. So here is another point that's made by Dharmakirti to show the magnificence of what Buddha has taught. And it says that when you alone have been able to present these Four Noble Truths, therefore have faith in other pronouncements or something around this. So therefore one should have faith in other pronouncements. Something to that effect. Diksum. Rinpoche, Chutsu Judan Karmani. Okay, so if you'd like a short break, we can take one now, and then maybe just a short couple minutes, and then we'll be right back.
Hey Jeff, I actually watched this video on YouTube.
Okay. Action. Action.
Tandela true, Montala to the song at all, Kuzo didn't answer back. Della true, Montala to the Montala to be tongue abanes. Tombo Shanchu Shabala Chawana, Zubala, Trabat member Jugube, Jugulas, Tean, Lange Sacho Wala, Ten Tenny Tawa, Yonsu Zuba the Mena, Mapper, Tata attended our Nadawa, Charter, Zhang Yuebe, Zhujiang, Bujian, Tunbe, Then Chatangene, Pansun Subashi Gusu, so what did Montula to the Changa Drogon on top of the Shanchu Shaba Yansu Zubala, Trajil to Marin to Mara, Jawam language, Serapatum, Jugulas,
Lesser.
They are Lange Sacho Yunala, Landa Nebachi Yunala, then Chinese Hong Gurus, Lanchu Jula, Chinese Hong, then Maneba to Sacho Moon, the Matama Jula Loss, Landy then to what the dream do.
Teacher.
They are Lange Sacho Yunala, then Chinese Hong. Tuba Meba, Tata then the Charter Yube. And the Sanji Kumu Zhujiang, Bujian Matempe, then Chatangene, Pansu Subachi Gusu, so what the Tambure, Montula to be drunk and drogon on the Tambo.
Okay, so we're back under the category, a discussion of the main topic, the fixed number of perfections. Under the first category, the fixed number of perfections based on high status. As I said before, it's not separated out in the Tibetan as it is here. It just says 1 and then explains it, 2 then explains it. There's not this separate 6. So we won't, that's why we didn't read all of them, because it's not how it reads, in the Tibetan. So, first category, fixed number of perfections based on high status. We have it as A. To fully complete the greatly effective bodhisattva deeds, you need an immeasurably long succession of lifetimes. Moreover, to attain quick success on the path within these lifetimes, you need a life excellent in every aspect. Excellent in every aspect. Our life is not excellent in every aspect, but rather has only some of the aspects of full excellence. We do not make progress with it, though we practice the teachings. That's good. Okay, so I believe that's where it read to. That's all. I was just checking to make sure we read to the same place I read to. So this is not something that happens in 1 or 2 lifetimes. The bodhisattva deeds take many, many lifetimes, is the point that's it's making here. It's saying you need an immeasurably long succession of lifetimes. So it's not to think that the bodhisattva deeds occur very quickly, and that you could complete them in 1 or 2 lives normally. Geshe Rinpoche.
What Ambaji Tanya Bateang, Kala Lonshe, Kala should be Lonshe Dang, Kangi should be Le Dang, Gandang, Hanjito, and Ruby Kurdan Lejita, Gandang Nam, Ruby, Person Soba Jidenshi Guzos, Danjuk Ten, Person Soba Jidan Deba Junsun and Tenny Sama Yabungres, Jidkarasana Teang. Quand la cheveux longe person soba quand que je vais ten lieu de person soba n'y pas
less
quand dans l'enjeu de ruby cour person soba tenez je pas les ta quand en bas non ruby person soba je n'ai du gores je dans des le jonzona nous va ten person soba dress je n'ai du goso Tada Pensum Soba Tangje Jang, Nyumobi Jendun Roa Mayus, Ne Kula Soba, Pensum Soba, Tama Tangje Wadi Nyumobi Jendun Roa Nyakayores, Royu, Teyan, Nyumoji Ondu Monroa Gugures, Monroa Tang. Tejang, Machubi, Nyumogi Ondu Monroa Tangje Machubi, Lando Jene na la Shinji Maluba, Jojin Dubi, Mina Lebar Shibashi Gutes, Lando Gane, Magojo Ponja, Gojo Lanja Yimba Tabule, and Gute Lando Gane to Zolo, the Abujin Ebaji Gures, Shibaji Gures, Jedona, Pema da Chushin Rangi, Debe Chabadan, True Mo. Treme Laba Tere Pensum Soba Nanjang Laba Shiros what the Tenere what the Pensum Soba the man and the young resita Je Dona Pema da Chushins Pema Sanangazu Shin Nomanalu Tomba Yotisangazu Yodel Pema de Marbe Chushins and a banana tree. Chushingi Drebi Chaba dance. Chushin banana tree them Drebichi Mataman Conor or Dendabu Chagaresita. Yendona Hematan, Chushin Rang Drebi Chaba dance, and Drebi Chaba to Dungu the Conor. Trume, Labatas, True Tata Tune on the True Bochas on the Trugun Bochinoman. Trumo, Trume, Laba Terrace, Buchas and Bugunolu, Trugunol Bugud Shingo.
Lesso.
Hanson to about Teni, Laba Jewish Rosa. Persons about the Nemo on Sonsona and the Sosa Laban Jogres, Jewish Ro. Shiro Yena, Haji Zombie Leje, Debu, Shenes, Haji Zombie. Jimmy Lonshe Tiji, the Zubin on the Zombie, what to Sukan Yabashi, Shibashine, Hayang Jutana Lambete, Chepit Rugulasa. Hayang Jutu Drune, Achepit Tangures. Shiro Mena, Masajin Rebu, Masajin Rebula Lonshu Beneses, Hasabi Gawatigan Rebu Lonshun, Zunugres, and the Sadum Pei Shemala, Jawashema. Dungan Gutsuba and Joro, so what about Nibare?
Okay, so
Ponsuba Gene Jugur, Ponsuba Gene de Yomu on the Mandua Jugures, Yomu on the Rosuna, Nomada banana tree of a channel race, True me, Jugunal Bus, Shendanaji. What is Kale?
Okay. So our present life is not excellent in every aspect, but rather has only some of the aspects of excellence. We do not make progress with it, though we practice the teachings. You need a life that has 4 kinds of excellence. So here it will show what is needed, what the 4 kinds of excellence are, and not only do you need them, but you need proper utilization. So it goes on to speak of that. So it says, you need a life that has 4 kinds of excellence. Resources to use, the result of the perfection of generosity. A body with which you act, the result of the perfection of ethical discipline. Companions together with whom you act, the result of the perfection of patience. And work that you are able to accomplish once undertaken, the result of the perfection of joyous perseverance. Since in many cases these 4 kinds of excellence alone may themselves become conditions for afflictions, you must not fall under the control of the afflictions as the result of the perfection of meditative stabilization. As just the 4 kinds of excellence are not sufficient, you must also distinguish well in regard to what to adopt and what to cast aside, precisely what things to do and to stop doing, the result of the perfection of wisdom. Otherwise, just as a bamboo or plantain tree dies after giving fruit, or a mule dies with pregnancy, you will be destroyed by the 4 excellences. So if you have these 4, you have companions and you have enjoyments and you have all of these things, but you don't know what to adopt and what to cast aside, then these 4 can actually be a hindrance to you. These 4 can actually make your afflictions increase as opposed to decreasing them. So it's not only saying, that's why it's saying you only have some of them, because it's inferring within them that not only do you have these enjoyments and body and so forth, but you're utilizing them for purity, you're utilizing them for things that you are adopting, and you're utilizing it to cast aside. If that's the case, then you are doing what you are supposed to be doing, and you'll have the results that one would have of these excellences. But if you merely enjoy them and don't utilize them, then it will be like a bamboo tree or a banana tree, or the story of the mule. So a banana tree, it gives the bananas, then it dies. It just gives it one fruit, and it doesn't continue to give fruit. So it's like this life. It would have all these things, and it wouldn't make anything more out of it. It would be just utilizing this one life, using it up, and then not having any kind of lasting goodness from it, not having any concordant behavior to the behavior that got you those enjoyments, that body, friends, etc. So, and ability to get things done. So those things undertaken are spiritual things in the case of the proper practice. Getting those things done that you undertake are spiritual things, those spiritual companions, that spiritual, using the body for meditation and spiritual. So those are the points here that are coupled with those 4 excellences. That's simultaneous in the proper practitioner. Okay. So the band. Okay, Rinpoche did mention one thing. So, for instance, when it says what to cast aside, So we have the 10 non-virtuous activities that the Buddha has outlined. That's an example of something to cast aside, and the 10 virtues, something to practice. Where it says what to adopt and what to cast aside, you would adopt the 10 virtues and cast aside the 10 non-virtues. So that's an example Rinpoche gave of proper practice, proper motivation and practice that would result further than this one lifetime's results. Decent.
Shindu do ngebe sende shindu gundo ten gun la mo do shede gula jazan che joba tazan do debula che joba njon shiros ta somba wot badre jusen di shana jawa shama phenje le ya ne shindu nyala ke chobres de yongwala ne jawa shama phenje le shindu nyala de yongwala ne jugu jumel chegmares jumeda mathum jul chegmares jumena chegmarwa jul chegre thumbi jul chegre matu mathum jul chegmares banana tree de ne mego tree chegmaro mego tree de banana tree chegmkuru mego tree de mego tree chegre thumbi jul chegres mathum jul chegmares mathum jul manjons Jesu Tumbi Juyang Shindu to Jawa Shimalaya Shindu Nyala Jebala Tsendele Shindu Nyala Jebala Ke Jula Rale Gres Shindu to Ngebe Tsende Shindu Gundo Tengung Shena Shindu Lo Gomba Yaba Jeba Ina Mantu Shate Jula Jezan Che Joba Tsende Shindu Nyala Jezan Yaba Yoba Ina Jawa Shama Penjile Shindu Nyale Yabu Yungure, Ndiyo Nan Yungure, Chungu Yana Chungu Yungures, Cheshoba Tazanto, Debelaya, Cheshoba Jung Sharos, what about Somba de Somba?
Rinpoche, Somba
Dena, Jawa Yen to Shindu Njungwang. Jumeda Matum Julia Manjonshin is Jesu Timmy Julia to pay the last one.
You know, the NGK, the Kanga, Tambo, the Nipa, the Dita na Sen Zinzapa, Dupa, Nanjan, the NGK, the Dodagen Longsar, then a Nipa Gutsogudu.
Nipa Deon said, Nipa.
Okay, then Chugudu. NGK. Okay. NGK Kakare. Did
the truth that.
Okay. So the Nipa, I'm just going to leave the numbers out for now because they're not corresponding with what the English say, and we'll see if we catch up. But I just don't want to confuse things more by adding different numbers than we have in our English book. So I'm just going to read the content, give the meaning of the content. It's just a couple numbers. It's not going to really mean anything ultimately, and we can correct it later on. So the wise understands how these six, the four excellences, control of the afflictions and knowledge of what to adopt and what to cast aside, are the results of earlier virtuous actions. And they strive again at steadily increasing their causes. The unwise use the results of their earlier accumulations of virtue and exhaust them as they do not accrete them anew. They reach the brink of their future suffering. When you again produce these six in future lives, their production will not be causeless. So these six perfections, when you have a practice of them in future lives, it will not be uncaused. It will be caused from a previous practice of those perfections. So a previous connection of some sort to those perfections. And it says that you will obviously have to, because results are concordant with the causes, have some sort of concordant cause for a result to occur. So in order for a result which is 6 perfections to occur, there has to be a concordant cause. That concordant cause has to be of the same lineage or type, of the same type as those 6 perfections. If they're manifesting, there has to be a cause that's of the same type for that manifestation. So that's what causal concordance is referring to, saying there can't be something unlike that causes like. It has to be concordant. Fixed, it says, concordant causes that are the perfections, fixed as 6 in number. Therefore, in this lifetime, you must repeatedly habituate yourself to constant reliance on the 6 perfections, because the superiority of the effects is commensurate to the superiority of the causes. A life with the 4 excellences constitutes temporary high status, whereas ultimate high status, which consists of ultimate excellence of body, etc., exists at the Buddha level. So it's saying that we're only talking about high status in samsara, in cyclic existence. We're not talking about the ultimate high status that we're trying to achieve. So it's saying that when you're not ultimately striving for this temporary state. It's a temporary state which is, if used properly, will create ultimately an ultimate high status, which is a freedom ultimately from all of the negativities. Okay, 358. Okay, the Doda Genlung. Okay, So when we speak of this temporary, that's within cyclic existence, this temporary high status of gods and humans in the higher realms. This is temporary high status. Ultimate high status is referring to Buddhahood.
Neko jungo to yin la sanje mai mu la da me ten to su kan lo neko jungo to yin la pansu zu ba su ta xin bi ngo to ne sanje sa kona yu do os onde pansu zu ba de ta to ngo to zo de sanje sa kona ma do yo ma des.
So there is
sanje sa kona yu do os.
So it is only the Buddha who abides in this level which is ultimate high status. So it's only the Buddha that is spoken of when we say ultimate high status. Other high statuses can speak of higher realm beings. Ultimate high status always refers to that a being on the Buddha ground, so meaning that has achieved the first moment at least of Buddhahood.
Teres odinga ba te ando de genles no down do ta ando de genles no su de do do de genles shebi su de sezang shebi su ni no na do de genles shebi su de do ja sha mo be do de genles ne lonche dans le pension soba dans coton pension soba ngo to dans to be ngo to dans je suis gêné ngo to de samara ta de nyamu Oni monjo dans. Pansu soba yoba yena nyomu adum sonach gogres. Nyomu bon adum roba yena. Monjo atan. Shawatana. Shinji malu baos, shinji mal shesos. Dode jen le sombi shinru gode rendoa shesos.
Dene injike tambo tsar. Dene nipa deta dende Dapu Shansengi the Nipa.
Lubana Shansenji Shawa Shansenji Shawa ne Nisu said Rangi Duntan, Genji Dun Sheba was
Yeah, the two Rangdan Zhengi Dun, the Nipa. The Nipa. The Leo Drew, the Nipa. Leso, the Nipa. Ewa Drew, the Nipa. Okay, the NGK Data.
Oh, yeah.
The Ewa Drew, the Nipa. Okay, so we're fine. Okay, so now we have a quote from the Mahayana Sutra Alamkara, which says, high status possessed of excellent resources and body, excellent companions and undertakings, not going under the power of afflictions, and never being mistaken in activities. So here we find this quote from the Abhisamalamkara. There wasn't really much commentary given, and it just shows these four, basically, that are mentioned here of resources, body, companions, and work. So undertakings. So we find the four: high status of resources and body. Those are the first two kinds of excellence. And then excellent companions and undertakings are the next two kinds of excellence. And then how do you properly utilize these? Not going under the power of afflictions and never being mistaken in activities. What to adopt, what to cast aside. So we find that all in the Mahayana Sutra Alamkara quote. Okay, and then we have the second category of the six. So we're under, all precepts are included in the six perfections. We have two categories: a discussion of the main topic, the fixed number of perfections, and then the ancillary discussion of the order. This is under the main topic, the fixed number. Fixed number, there are six categories. First category is the fixed number of perfections based on high status. That's been complete. The second category is the fixed number of perfections based on fulfilling the two aims. What are the two aims? The aims of self and the aims of others. So fulfilling all of your own aims and fulfilling everyone else's aims. So these are the two aims. Okay.
다 디시르 되니 두발라 되비 장에네 되니 라도도 되니 말바 라도도 되니 두발라 되비 네 시루도 장에 봤네 zel라 옌지 된 두발라 토마산 옌 düja 옌다고 된다 두발라 토마 산징이 팬 두고베스 토마 산징이 팬 두바이 옌바도 용거레스 옌바 두글라 대야 sentient la neutre jebe jembe jiam yong yu jene jeta jeba jen no ba bu ju chutin je jeta jeba le bar don ba ni jenu chembe yimbe chutin go sos te ta shen ba la ne chune mezobe Mazuba Jilin Shena Chuditaba Moyu Chunela Jemania Zuba Gung Zuba Jimbelon Tingi de Zuba Sidrenois Zuba Gozo De Lama Jebe Genji Disuba Toma Kejin Din Dune Gawala jato yuebe jendun chenpo wos wat jendun wat bat jendun sugdo jendun rangi don ona rangi don shos na rangi don shiraji tu namba du do to ba yin la sa toni du shira gta je nyomo ba to ku kwal du taba to zona de radon to ba res radon
Lesa
radon roa to ba yin na Tenga seje nabar inwa la mon yu san tenje senyaba jate mi bala jetan dundu to nebi le rung toba gu sa te lelu jen la maji yu nisen kundu mengen yu Tundu Tong Gube, Tela Gube, Tene, Tadak Jiwosa. Jiwo. Radon, but Tena Twenty with the Drubala, Shindu to Changatis, Radon, the Drubala, Shindu to Changagres, or Tanma Long Kale, Quajin, Tes Jugum.
Okay.
Jutu.
Okay. So then, so now we're at the second category of the six, and when someone in such a life of high status learns the bodhisattva deeds, these activities are comprehensively categorized as two: those which fulfill your own aim and those which fulfill the aims of others. Therefore, there is a fixed number of perfections based on fulfilling the two aims. To fulfill the aims of others, you must first help them with material goods. Since no benefit will come from generosity accompanied by harmfulness towards living beings, you need ethical discipline, which has a great purpose for others in that it is the state of desisting from harm to others and the causes of such harm. To bring this to its full development, you need patience that disregards the harm done to you, for if you are impatient with harm and retaliate a time or two, you will not attain pure ethical discipline. So we see ethical discipline so far. Rinpoche pointed it out as we went through them. We see generosity and now patience pointed out. So then, when you do not retaliate because of your patience, you prevent others from accumulating a great amount of sin and bring them to a place of virtue by inspiring them with your patience. So this practice has great purpose for others. You attain your own aim, the bliss of liberation through the power of wisdom. Since you will not attain this with a distracted mind, you must set your mind in meditative equipoise by means of meditative stabilization, obtaining a mental serviceability wherein you intentionally set your attention on any object of meditation. Since a lazy person does not produce this, you need joyous perseverance day and night that never slackens. So this is the basis of the other perfections. So you see there effort, concentration, and wisdom presented. First three were presented of ethics, generosity, and patience, and then effort, concentration, and wisdom are presented here. So we see in regards to fulfillment of aims of others, we have the generosity, ethics, and patience, and in fulfillment of the aims of your own, we see them presented in terms of effort, meditative stabilization, and wisdom. Let me see. The Kanga Lobsang. Lessa. So what does everyone think? How many permutations are there between one's needs and others' needs? Are there 3 permutations, 4 permutations? Are they mutually exclusive, or are they synonymous? If it is one's own needs, is it necessarily others' needs? If it is others' needs, is it necessarily one's own needs? Rinpoche is just putting the question out there. Nene? Then Musum Mushi, Gelwa Dunchi.
What the
Jalsa. Jalsa, the Jawagare, the Jendon, the Shanchut Chike.
Jalsa Tanji Jembe Talan Seje ne Jendun ne Jenju Nyande Yilas.
Nyanin Le Deba.
Jeng Toja Tabate, Jendun Reson Rota. Jeng Toja Tabat Jendun Himbata. Doro. Radun Ayi. Radun Jendun Achamjao.
So Jalsup Tamche, Jalsup J, who is Lama Tsongkhapa's root disciple, states in his text, something liberation, path of liberation, something like this. I'm sorry, I don't have the exact name of it, but in Jalsup's text, he states that bringing others to the state of enlightenment is fulfillment of others' needs. So is that fulfilling your own needs? So Rinpoche is posing the question, he's not answering the question. He's saying, so when you fulfill others' needs, are you fulfilling your own needs? And based on Jalsup J, if you're bringing others to enlightenment, are you fulfilling your own needs? If you're fulfilling your own needs, are you bringing others to enlightenment? Are you fulfilling their needs if you're fulfilling your needs? So it's just a question with a lot to think about, and it's debated quite a bit in the debate courtyard, this question about one's needs, others' needs, and how they relate to one another. Okay. So when you look at omniscience, this would be one's own, because you would be omniscient. So is this others' needs? If your omniscience, is that others' needs? So the Buddhas and the teachers know how to fulfill others' needs by teaching, because that's how someone becomes enlightened. You can't make them enlightened, or there's no magic. They have to do it themselves, and the teachers can show them. So then do you come up with, are one's needs and others' needs synonymous? Are they of the same one meaning? Are your needs and others' needs one meaning? The word, you can translate dun cheek. Dun is meaning, cheek is one. So all the translators have said we say synonymous, but it's really one meaning. And what one meaning means is if you have A, you have B, and if you have B, you have A. That's all one meaning means. If A's there, B's there. If B's there, A's there. If your needs are there, fulfillment in parentheses, others' needs are there. If the others' needs are there, your needs are there. That's what it would mean if it's one meaning. So is Rinpoche saying, is it one meaning? If your needs are there, others' needs are there, and if others' needs are there, your needs are there. Is that true? So he's just showing how you could come to the conclusion that it could be all of them, and it can't be. It's got to be, truth is truth. There's only one. There's not multiple. It's not, anyway. Alternative truths or facts. There's one. There's truth. Where are we?
Number 2, doa toba yinas. Tuni dubi shiro la tene, nyomo bato kuy dungel jui taba toba del randun lagres, de randun yimbata. Ane jendun ma yimbata, jendun jenju nyande yinla, shesong bejir, talang seji liyo dro. Wat dusuk ngal toba doa.
So a doubt could arise. So in dependence upon the wisdom realizing emptiness. So when you have this meditative equipoise or meditative stabilization of the wisdom realizing emptiness, does that fall categorically into others' needs? If you realize emptiness, does that connectivity, and you know what I mean, does that fall categorically under others' aims, attaining others' aims? Are you attaining others' aims when you have the wisdom realizing emptiness? Basically, that's what Rinpoche is asking. Te Chempa, I think if you're a Mahayanist, yes. I would say yes.
What is to Badua Yembe, Chutinji Gusos, Chutingusos, Tinguala Chutingu, you Chutin Latin Ingres, the Tashimbala, Chuna Mezevi, Chilen Daniel Shena, and Chutin Taba Manu, Chuna La Chimanabi, Zobagures.
So true.
Di len majebe jenji di suba toma keshins den dune gawa la jadu yebe jendun chembo wos watu jena jendun chembo desirwa rangi dune sheroji tu nabadu do atu wa yelasa tuni du shero taji nyoma batu ku do So
this is why doubts arise, and this is why we need to have and again, this word doubt could also be translated as a need for further analysis. So when you see something, it's like, why is it like that? They call that a doubt, but it's also really within that word in the Tibetan is that there's a need to analyze it further. It doesn't just leave it there. It means like, I've got to look into that. So when Rinpoche says doubt, that's what he's meaning. He's not saying that he doubts whether it's true. He's saying that it causes you to need to inquire further. So it's saying to fulfill the aims of others, you must first help them with material goods. Since no benefit will come from generosity accompanied by harmfulness towards living beings, you need ethical discipline. So are you you're not fulfilling your own aims when you're being generous with material goods? Are you not fulfilling your own aims when you have ethical discipline by not harming living beings? So are you not fulfilling your own aims as well? And then it says you need ethical discipline, which has a great purpose for others in that it is a state of desisting from harm to others and the causes of such harm. So desisting from the cause of harm to others, it does not fulfill your own aims. To bring this to its full development, you also need patience that discards the harm done to you. For if you are impatient with harm and retaliate a time or two, you will not attain pure discipline. When you do not retaliate because of your patience, you prevent others from accumulating a great amount of sin and bring them to virtue by inspiring them with your patience. So this practice has great purpose for others. Does it not have great purpose for oneself too? You attain your own aim, the bliss of liberation, through the power of wisdom. So one attains liberation through getting rid of the afflictive obstructions and so forth. Does that attainment fulfill others' aims? So Rinpoche just left it there and said that's why there's a need for further analysis and why there's debate because of that. Sash?
Okay.
So we'll end there. And thank you, everyone. We'll do the concluding mandala offering and dedication prayer. Rinpoche has asked that we clean off the altar. Offerings usually you put up and then take them down and use them after they've been there a day or so. Sometimes they say at night, sometimes they say the morning to change it. It depends on what text you read. But because you have this understanding that they're not going to eat them, and to let it rot would be completely wrong. So you make the offering, and then the next day you use it, usually. It's not meant to be a decoration. It's meant to be, you offer something from your heart, and you usually offer what you love the most. So if your favorite cookie, you offer that cookie. Your favorite drink, you offer that drink. whatever your favorite is, and then you've basically shared that, whatever your favorite thing is, with whoever gets it. If it's on your own altar, then you get your favorite thing, and it's been blessed. And that's kind of the ritual of offering. And it's really that first moment intention of making the offering. Once it hits the altar, the offering's really over. It is there and can be beautiful for the day, if you're looking at it from an offering for the day of beauty. But after that, it's not meant to be decoration. So that's the reason it's removed. When we see them removing stuff from the altar and putting it in bags, that's the reasoning, is so that you can put a new motivation on the altar, a new offering. That's all. Okay. Concluding mandala offering and dedication prayer is in the last couple pages of the prayer book. For anyone who's new, I don't think that anyone falls into that category. I could be wrong. The fundamental ground is scented with incense and strewn with flowers, adorned with Mount Meru, the four continents, the sun, and the moon. I imagine this as a Buddha land and offer it. May all sentient beings enjoy this pure realm. I dedicate whatever virtues I have collected for the benefit of the teachings and of all sentient beings, and in particular for the essential teachings of Venerable Lobsang Drakpa to shine forever. I send forth this jeweled mandala to you, precious Guru. I dedicate all this virtue to emulate the knowledge of the hero Manjushri and likewise Samantabhadra as well. With whatever dedication is praised as supreme by all the conquerors who traverse the three times, I also dedicate all my roots of virtue for the sake of auspicious deeds. In that pure land surrounded by snowy mountains, you are the source of all benefit and happiness. All-powerful Avalokiteshvara Tenzin Gyatso, may you stay until samsara's end. I pray for the long life of the precious Khensur Wandak, upholder of scriptural and realizational doctrines, spiritual friend who trained extensively in the 5 great philosophical texts with exceptional wisdom and perseverance. Geshe Rinpoche Gutsi Shapi Denala. Atsu Lamrim Chenmo Kangachirana. Okay. So a student asked the question of how do you practice emptiness? When you begin to look at your own body and try and establish where the I is, you will have difficulty in finding it. So you begin to say, is the head I? Is the ear I? Is the nose I? Is my arm I? Is my hand I? Is my chest I? Are my legs I? And you begin to negate one by one as you go through them. So my head's not me, my arms aren't me, my legs aren't me, and my feet aren't me. So you end up at this place where you say, well, then there's no me. But that's not correct. It certainly is a me because I'm here speaking, I'm here moving, I'm able to walk and talk and interact. And others say they are interacting with me. So there's certainly an existent me that's here. So if I can't find the me in any of these individual parts, where does it exist? And as Buddhists, we say that the I is merely a nominal designation that's put on top of or put to a basis of designation that serves as an appropriate basis for this name. So it's a suitable basis of designation. So we would say that the head, the hands, the eye, the legs, the feet, all of these parts come together as a collection and then serve as a suitable basis of designation for the name I, or in my case, Jeff. So these parts all come together and then are suitably to be named Jeff. But there is no Jeff, there is no I that exists exclusively from that collection that serves as the basis of designation. So that collection comes together and then is named Jeff. There's no Jeff that's separate from that. You can't find a Jeff that exists separate from the name on the collection. And so as soon as you decide that there is no Jeff, so you negate there's an I because you say there's no head, there's no hand. The hand's not I, the head's not I, the legs aren't I, the body's not I, so there's no I. If you establish non-existence, then you fall into nihilism. If you say, well, all of these things are here and I'm talking, so I must truly be established, I must truly exist, then you fall into substantialism. One has to understand that one merely comes into existence through a nominal designation on top of a collection that serves as a suitable basis of designation. There is no I that's separate from that process. So when one practices emptiness, one thinks about these things. One thinks about the collection and the coming together. One thinks about the fact that I am empty. I am not truly established because of dependent origination. There is this interdependence with all these parts coming together that are necessary in order for the designation I to take place. So this is how one practices. When we look at the Tibetan word for gom, it means familiarization. So one familiarizes oneself again and again with the true nature of reality instead of the mistaken view that we constantly grasp onto, which is that we are truly established and exist as some separate, singular entity, when we merely exist through dependent origination and nominal designation. Diksun.